And we are back with our shared priority program, public investment plan. I want to just thank you in advance for all your hard work. I know that it may be that not everything will be funded this time, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a great idea. It doesn't mean that you might not get funded in year 2 or year 3. We appreciate it. I also want to give a shout out to Councilman Russ Pulley, who is behind us, who is with us today. So thank you, Councilman, for being here. All right, over to you.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning, panel. Pleased to be with you today. We have 2 members of our team that worked on this process that are not with us today, Abdelghani Bari from Metro Social Services and Kathy Sinbach from the Juvenile Courts Office. Currently, many Metro departments, agencies, and community groups work to provide economic opportunity and empowerment to people living in poverty across Nashville. Each group, in their own space, seeks to empower families with the tools to improve their economic situation, and the public invests significantly in this work. These groups, we will tell you, are virtuosos in the priority areas that affect economic opportunity as they seek to provide the critical tools to open pathways and doorways to prosperity. They provide access to affordable housing, access to jobs and quality of life wages, access to financial stability, health care, transportation, in short, access to Nashville's economic prosperity. But individuals cannot do this work alone, nonprofits can't do this work alone, and the government can't do this work alone. Metro departments and agencies facilitate the work, and nonprofit agencies work in this arena as well. On top of that, there are dozens of philanthropic and corporate partners that support the work. And as we say, we have many groups that do their parts individually very well. But without a conductor, the combined work of these virtuosos is not harmonious. We get this. We know that ultimately what measures gets done. And we have many great organizations that work on poverty in Nashville. We feel like we need a stronger handle on the data and the best practices that help us reach a goal of reducing poverty across the city. And we need to know which part each organization is playing to meet that greater goal. For example, many groups work across our community to connect people to jobs, but we still have specific areas where people are still experiencing high unemployment. Our unemployment rate across the county is at record lows. But for some demographics, young black men, for instance, the unemployment rate in 2014 was 30%. For young black women, it was 37% in 2014. The problem we feel we face is a lack of coordination and an uneven deployment of resources to meet the need. In short, we need a world-class orchestra to serve low-income households. The solution that we have to this cacophony of music is that Metro should provide the conductor through our Office of Economic Opportunity and Empowerment. Shortly after taking office, Mayor Berry created the OEOE to ensure that Nashville's growth results in increased quality of life for all Nashvillians through innovation and collaboration across our economic opportunity efforts. OEOE is a natural convener for this collective impact work, and the isolated impact that Nashville has worked in over the years is outdated, and it doesn't best serve the residents that are in need of economic opportunity and empowerment. OEOE regularly engages community partners, maximizes resources, and convenes long-term planning and coordination efforts to reduce poverty in Nashville. A fine example of this work is the Amendment 3 process that Ashford Hughes has led through the mayor's office. We have a unique opportunity to leverage existing grant dollars with a relatively small PIP that's in front of you today to create a shared priority team to serve as our conductor. We have an existing grant that will provide the first $40,000 of funding. We ask today for the additional amount in order to get this process started with a shared priority team. The team's job will be to run selected priorities in economic opportunity. These are your priorities, Mayor: jobs, housing, homelessness, youth violence, health, through a cross-sector, community-wide process that will concretely map out what we have, what we can improve, and what our shared priorities will be. First, we'll identify the key players in the area. Are the horns and the strings and the woodwinds on the same page? If you use the example of affordable housing, the SPT, and we know we need a new name, and and we need a good name, so we may ask our first set of participants to help us with that. We would gather all of the players and identify the agencies and resources. So if it's affordable housing, we would bring MDHA, the banks, the Barnes Fund, Habitat for Humanity, home builders, realtors, Metro Social Services, and map out each group's role in that process. The SPT will convene those partners around the same table and clearly identify the community's vision for a specific priority area. We will set the tone, overview the piece of music, the tempo, and what each instrument can do. The process will ask the following questions. What music is everyone playing right now? We'll evaluate current services provided. Are they playing over each other? What overlapping efforts and gaps in services do we have? Are we buying too many horns, too many woodwinds? Do we need more violins? We would measure current funding and spending. Can the audience even hear the music? Does the music move them? We would measure transparency and user experience. Can the audience get to the show? We'd identify transportation and infrastructure challenges. Can the audience sit in the good seats? Can the audience afford a ticket? And does the orchestra itself even reflect the audience it's playing to? The SPT will incorporate user experience, staff morale, strategic planning, and work individually with the agencies and staff to create a blueprint for success. This will include technical support and training as the process unfolds. So what do we need? The team would be a multifaceted, multi-capability evaluation and planning team. We'd have a lead person, that's the main contracted employee we've got in your proposal, an existing OE staff person that's already assigned to the priority area, an Office of Neighborhoods and Community Engagement staff person to help with community engagement and transparency, a finance representative, a training specialist, a data analyst, and a project liaison to coordinate with each one of the departments. Except for that first person, they would all be borrowed staff. So how else would we pay for it? Well, we've inherited this existing grant that's detailed in your proposal. We would try to reallocate existing Metro staff to the goal. We'd also seek ongoing support from local foundations. We tested this issue with a group of our funders and a group of nonprofit experts when we were going through the Ideas to Reality process, and we found it something they had long wanted Metro to take a role in. And we would integrate the budget team PIP that you're going to hear about later, as well as the community engagement team PIP you heard about a little bit ago. Mayor, you tell us all the time that power is about waking up every day and making a difference in the lives of others. We feel like this level of coordination would help us get that job done. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from our team?
I'll jump in. Hi.
Hi, Talia.
I know you're going to require a great deal of collaboration from the Metro departments to be successful. Can you kind of touch on maybe a couple of examples of departments where you're going to really require their assistance and buy-in to move forward?
Yeah. I mean, I think clearly if you're looking at the economic opportunity areas, the Career Advancement Center, Metro Social Services, Metro Action Commission, Health Department, and we've started this work. I mean, I think the model of the workforce and construction readiness program gives us a solid model of, saying to those departments, this is wind behind your sails. This is not us coming in and telling you how to do business. The process we worked through, again, juvenile court representative, social services representative, was highly focused on improving staff morale and improving the capabilities of staff within the existing departments and not recreating the wheel.
What did you hear from the nonprofit community as if you were to have success at the end of a 3-year period? What would that look like to them?
Yeah, we started our model looking at just Metro because that's what we were. We were all from Metro departments. And they pretty clearly came back to us and said, if you're really looking at an issue like housing or job development, and you don't include the nonprofit community and the private sector, then you're not doing the full job. And they clearly said to us they felt like Metro, the mayor's leadership, the new spirit of collaboration and engagement that we have, that it was the right time and we were the right entity to do that. I think the idea would be, and this is what we've got to work out over the first year, is what that blueprint looks like. From the Metro side, we want to create expectations of the nonprofits that work with us at a minimal level. But again, we're trying to engage in a collective impact process that we would want people to work towards buying into.
To the microphone, please.
On how we measure success, I think that is partially what the model sets up, which is continuous communication, shared measurement system, but then it's also improved outcomes in whatever initiative that we're working on, so.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Most of our successful projects are true public-private partnerships, often led by the private rather than public, because it tends to get momentum faster. What is the role of the private sector in this? What are you asking of them other than just to sit at the table? And then at the end of the year, is this a group of convenings we've had where we're all more informed, or what is the concrete outcomes that we should expect?
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Let me take your second question first. We intentionally said this is not to create a report or a set of recommendations or a dialogue that sits on a shelf and that makes everybody feel good. The idea is take a concrete issue, so housing, concrete issue, workforce development, local hire, one of those issues, and come out with a blueprint. I mean, a real blueprint that has assigned roles, assigned expectations that people are bought into. Now, the public sector drives that the private sector drives that in a very meaningful way. Let me use homelessness as an example. We just completed a strategic plan that really focused its collective impact on the homeless industry, the folks that work to serve homeless people. And the funders came to us and said, as we work through that process, you're going to really need us on board. And we know we need them on board because so many of those agencies are funded by private dollars, philanthropic dollars. Metro has a bully pulpit, which I think is important. The mayor certainly has a role and a leadership role, but at the end of the day, a lot of the dollars and the focus are coming from the private sector. So we would involve them in that strategic coordination. Part of what we'd ask this consultant to do is help us figure out a way to make sure the private sector is engaged from day one.
What specific metrics would you consider successful?
We talked about a heavy deep dive into budgets. And that is not a fun conversation for some nonprofits. We do it in Metro. We ought to be doing it in these other areas as well so that we can have a real picture. Yes, your tagline, Agency X, says you do this in this space. Well, what does that really mean? Not just client served, not just how good does your board feel about the work that you're doing, but about what are the outcomes. You know, with the Financial Empowerment Center, we measure did we raise somebody's credit score by 35 points or more? We measure was their debt reduced by 10% or more? I'm obviously going to brag about the FEC. It's just in my nature. But those types of metrics we could apply across these different programs. Numbers of jobs generated. In homelessness, it's what were the exits to permanent housing? Were those people still in permanent housing after 6 months, after a year? I mean, we know what those are. We've seen them in other cities. We need to apply them here. But the biggest thing is we need the agencies and the staff to buy into that and have it not just be, oh, this is another report I've got to give to HUD, or this is another report I've got to give to a funder. And so that's our, admittedly, big goal.
You've taken a very different approach than some of the others here who've done some pioneering work in this, in taking a category like homelessness rather than a population. And I think about the Youth Opportunity Center with Oasis and Casa Asafran, who didn't take homelessness, they simply took a population and said, what do they need? Why did you choose a category like homelessness instead of a specific population because rarely does one service for a group solve the issue, it just exacerbates the other issues. And I'm trying to understand what made you choose this approach rather than some of the other approaches that have proven successful.
So we went back and forth on it, and we started out with the population focus, and then we recognized that as Metro, we have to serve everybody. And we're not trying to supplant. I mean, the mayor has said regularly, we don't want to create new programs. So the good work that Casa Asafran is doing, the great work that Oasis is doing, but the issue staring us in the face right now, affordable housing, is that issue. And I'm out of time. can I keep going?
The only reason I ask you to think about it is most of these foundations and nonprofits have boards with a specific mission to a population. So if you addressed homelessness and women coming out of incarceration, you have 10 foundations and probably 40 nonprofits already at your back because it meets their mission. If you take broad homelessness, you need all 800 nonprofits.
I mean,
to give you a piece.
I agree, but I would push back and say that the foundation said to us they wanted us to do it from an issue perspective, and that this is what they've been looking for a while. Again, the granular impact on the individual populations, I think is best left to the actual agencies doing the work.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks all. Thanks for being here, y'all.
Thank you.